The entire city was collapsing. The elevator was the last place Cloudo wanted to be when the apocalypse struck. But with the streets blocked by riots and fleeing crowds and the stairs sealed due to the overwhelming number of zombies, the elevator seemed like the only escape route. But Cloudo had made one fatal mistake. He hadn't thought it through, hadn't realized that the elevator itself could become a prison, trapping him inside as the outside world descended into chaos. Cloudo's first thought was to stay calm, to wait out the storm. After all, it was just an outbreak. He reasoned that the authorities would sort it out soon, but as the hours passed, the silence around him became deafening, save for the occasional thump or scratch from the walls of the elevator shaft. Zombies, hungry, relentless. At first, their growls were distant, muffled by the thick steel walls, but soon they grew closer, more distinct. Each growl was a reminder that the world he knew was slipping away, bit by bit. The first sign of his transformation came not in the form of physical danger, but in the gnawing feeling in his gut, guilt. The elevator's small, claustrophobic space seemed to close in on him as memories of his colleagues, people he had once worked alongside, flashed through his mind. Some of them were probably dead. Some of them had probably become one of them, and yet all he could think about was himself, his survival. He had always been this way, hadn't he? Selfish, looking out for number one. His world had revolved around getting ahead at any cost, and now here he was, stuck, helpless. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the elevator's dimly lit interior, Cloudo's sense of helplessness intensified. His mind spiraled into dark places. The thought of suicide, once unthinkable, now lingered in the back of his mind, becoming more tempting with each passing moment. His fingers grazed the cold metal of the gun Marcello had handed him earlier. Marcello, a fellow survivor he'd encountered in the building, had given Cloudo a weapon in a rare act of kindness, but even the presence of the gun couldn't chase away the overwhelming despair. Cloudo knew what the gun could do. He had used it earlier to fight off a few zombies, his colleagues no less, each shot only deepening the guilt that gnawed at him. He could still see their faces in his mind, the ones who had been human, the ones who had sat beside him in meetings, shared casual conversations in the break room, now reduced to mindless creatures. His fingers tightened around the cold steel of the gun's handle. What was the point?